Hello and welcome to Rauta City 5. This time we have once again 5 different releases which are of older kind. Some of these are bands that have released like only one album featured here, and then there are also at least one band with multiple albums out. All more or less from the same source of releases, so that is Grim Distribution and Satanath Records. First we'll try with Blackcard with album called Nekropola. Basically, this is an album that could tick all the right boxes with its melodic, fast tempo black metal and do the right kind of a thing with its style of, well, given genre. However, in so many ways, this is pure mediocrity. Not outright bad, of course not, but to be honest, there is a lot of room for improvement in so many ways. Well, first of all, let's tackle this fast-paced. It's not exactly Marduk, it's not exactly Dark Funeral, but it's the kind of aggressive black metalish thing which is all over the place. Now, of course, when you want to do that kind of stuff, you kind of are required to have really interesting riffs. And that's exactly where Blackcard fails. It's not production, because that is pretty much decent. It's not the very typical raspy vocals, which are just there to do their job. Can't really bitch about them, can't really praise them. But it's more about those riffs, which are more like between, what is this? What the hell is going on? Kind of, okay, this is pretty decent. None of these are exactly killer riffs. None of them are like astonishingly bad. But nothing really indicates here good quality. So, very listenable, but at the same time also very forgettable. Now, if you're a sucker for melodic, fast tempo black metal, there's no reason why not to check out Nekropola by Blackcard. But if you're really picky with the given style, or you just don't really like the style, it's better to skip that one. Then we have this band from Sweden called Carnosus, and there it is, Dogma of the Deceased. This is Swedish death metal and American style. Now, most of people who know anything at all about Swedish death metal know how it is mostly carried upon or built by these so-called sunlight bands. Excuse me. And that is the style with Entombed, Grave, Dismember, etc. went on with and made it to the world known as Swedish death metal. I mean, it's kind of pretty obvious that style is more or less similar to one another. However, Carnosus' style is more about this Americanized death metal. You can hear parts here and there where it's like more like, okay, we're getting the vocals, we're getting the sound, and everything is just kind of a more American made. Not that I can bitch about it, it's just a little bit surprising. Now, this is a pretty decent of album. First of all, none of these riffs are like boring, mediocrity, but more like, okay, it's something is interesting in the making. Now, where this lacks passion and, well, capability to hit you blunt force trauma kind of a thing is, it's not really nailing with so-called power. I mean, this is more about like death-like of an approach with the lack of power, speed, and, well, violence. There are some more progressive elements which might you point later on death era, but it's not there yet. Interesting band nonetheless, but still a little bit of work in progress. But good production, solid vocals, and pretty decent songwriting. Then we have the most peculiar album of this pile here with this band, how to pronounce it, Ethir Anduin. This is a Russian band with 8th album so far. This is more like a band with quantity over quality. Because first of all, this band has been putting out more than one release every year, well, roughly, give or take. And on top of those 8 albums, you have a lot of EPs and splits and whatever. Where it gets, however, confusing and also a little bit off-road is that this is a combination of death metal, doom metal, black metal, and also something that could be seen as core. Maybe deathcore is the defining thing here. Now, if we start with the good things, the production is really solid, it sounds heavy, it sounds very fitting for all of these styles, and the vocals are of multitude of different styles. There are crowly parts, raspy parts, screamy parts, clean vocals, and then the kind of a hybrid of all those styles. And the band is clearly like showing off, like, okay, we can do death metal riffs, check, you can do doom death, you can do kind of a doomy, slow tempo parts, you can mix black metal with that, and you can do that kind of a deathcore thing. Now, you probably know where this is going. it's too much of a hybrid to like impact in any of those genres. It's more like, curriculum vitae, like, hey, we've been doing this kind of stuff, like, showing off your different skill sets rather than focusing on doing a good album. On top of that, it's almost 80 minutes with 8 tracks. So roughly 10 minutes a track with those various styles. You can probably imagine my face when I was halfway through with the full album, like, okay, we're still halfway through. And it's never a good sign when you're staring at the track list like, okay, this is only halfway through and there are plenty of songs to come. Some parts really nice, way too many parts which are just like boring, I want to skip them. 10 minutes tracks with so many different styles. Hard to recommend this to just about anybody. Then we have this band called Monumentum Damnati, and this is of international waters. Some members seem to be from Russia or Belarus, I guess. Some are indicating towards United States, but they don't clearly say it. There are, however, pointers to, for example, Kansas City. So I'm just figuring out, maybe this is some kind of a Belarus, American, and whatever style. The interesting thing with the band is it's one of those masked bands with those cool, albeit kind of a video game character type of masks, and they're said to be doing kind of a horror stuff with this one. In a Tomb of a Forgotten King. Sounds like a role-playing title to me. And now, basically, this is kind of okay-ish. I mean, kind of a good also. But let's be honest about it. This is more like taking your trip to 1990s with those kind of nowadays, sympathetic, melodic doom death metal parts. It's almost like taking the mediocre demo parts from Anathema, My Dying Bride, Paradise Lost, and mixing it everything, but giving it a modern day touch with the sound and all. And lots of keyboards, dramatic ones, and then a lot of mediocre melodic riffs, which are like, okay, yeah, I kind of get it. It doesn't really suck you in. And the horror elements, well, as much as probably the Finnish rock band Lordi. You have those scary masks and all that stuff, but it doesn't really do so much of a horror thing, unless you're thinking of True Blood, the TV show, or Bram Stoker's Dracula to be exactly horror. So more like a gothic, dramatic things rather than outright horror or darkness. The last but not least is coming from Greece, Athens, and this is one Skarz with the first album called What Remains. This is two-man band, and indeed they are doing old school death metal, once again rather American style. The most noteworthy thing, I guess, here is that the vocals are very much like Tardy of Obituary. Now, if you like those kind of vocals, you probably are going to like this, especially if you don't mind the kind of American type of pastiche riffing. However, if you're allergic to those Tardy Obituary vocals, you are not probably going to like this one as well. The thing here is, this is more for acquired taste because of those vocals. Some of the riffs are quite mid-tempo, once again pointing out to Obituary, whereas some parts are just way too fast for Obituary, that is. And the kind of a trashiness which is presented here is just leaning towards old school death metal, that is late 80s, early 90s. That's why I think is here, for example, a Metal Archives listed at death trash metal band. But overall, I would say it's just death metal with old school touch. The production is very, very solid, kind of reminding me of old days, but the drum sound is sort of like too much of Death's Leprosy album. Still, nonetheless, one of the better ones on this pile. So if I had to pick winner out of this pile of Indie 5, it would be battle between Carnosus and Skarz. But I guess, in the end, Skarz wins by an inch, because the kind of Obituary feeling nailed with, death, nailed to death, is something that I can totally enjoy. None of these are exactly great, none of them are exactly bad. So from mediocrity to kind of a decent stuff, and that's what you get. Death metal, black metal, doom death, dramatic gothic stuff, and all that stuff between. Check out the band's links provided in the description box if you're interested in some of these. You will find more information on their social media pages and music from the Bandcamp sites or whatever. So click and listen to if you feel like these are your cup of tea. Meanwhile, take care and see you soon with more Rauta's stuff coming away.